The RB26 engine of the Nissan GT-R is one of the best in the world, and today we'll see why it is literally a true Godzilla. The engine was designed in the 1980s and is a 2.6-liter inline six-cylinder. This type of configuration is widely used because its second-order alternative masses are perfectly cancelled, leading to a vibration-free engine, especially if it revs very high at 8,000 RPM. The diameter of the piston is 86 millimeters, and they have 73.3 millimeters of stroke. This gives a super square engine. This means that pistons move relatively slower, reducing friction against the cylinder wall and resulting in less loss as well as lower temperature. In this animation, you can see a comparison of three engines turning at the same RPM, but the pistons have different speeds. As you may see, the right piston moves slower. This means more crankshaft RPM can be achieved. Higher RPM increases horsepower because more quantity of combustion occurs. The use of the cylinder in the same time is increased. However, these engines tend to have slightly less torque since the air has less time to enter the cylinder, which results in weaker explosions. Although we must not forget that there are two twin turbos that compensate for this problem. Two smaller turbos were added to fit them easier under the hood. A single large turbo would have had a big diameter. Added to the pipes of the exhaust manifold would end up having different lengths due to lack of twin turbos that compensate for this problem. Two smaller turbos were added to fit them easier under the hood. A single large turbo would have had a big diameter. Added to the pipes of the exhaust manifold would end up having different lengths due to lack of space. The two small turbos have less mass, less turbo lag, and are simply more comfortable saving space. Something to highlight was that it had ceramic bearings, being the best option for that time. This group of Garrett turbines were factory limited to 10 psi or 0.7 bar. As for the block, which is very resistant, it's a closed deck of cast iron. As you can see, it only has the holes for the cylinder head bolts, the water channels, and the oil passages. An open block is when the cylinders are surrounded by water channels. The closed block turns out to be very strong, and that in the future it will support a very high power increase searched by turners. 1,000 horsepower configurations have been achieved. The crankshaft and connecting rods are made of forged steel. The pistons are made of aluminum and are cooled by an oil shot. Instead of using the simple spray method, the pistons have an internal toroid where the oil circulates, being more effective and keeping the pistons up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit lower than the conventional method. Looking at the pistons, we can see the inlet port and the outlet port. Something that was used at the time was the bump on the pistons to increase compression and respect the shape of the combustion chamber, although today, the cam system is double and it commands the valves directly through the fixed tappets regulated by internal shims. The internal shims make the job of regulating valves more difficult, but this prevents the valves from blowing away the shim by high RPM. The shape of the combustion chamber is pent roof. Here we can easily see the 5 roofs, and it also has 2 small squish areas so that the fuel combustion occurs right in the center where the spark plug is located. Exhaust valves are sodium-filled for heat dissipation. Power for ignition under turbo pressure is provided by individual coils mounted on the same spark plug, something rarely seen for the time and worthy of a modern engine. The cylinder head is made of aluminum, ideal for quickly extracting heat and reducing the weight of the vehicle, especially in the upper part, which alters the center of gravity. The ports are optimized for high airflow and do not have any manufacturing defects. The head is linked to individual throttle bodies or ITBs. This gives minimal lag in throttle response and great power. The 6 injectors are located in this part, being 440 cc and operating sequentially, a true multi-point injection. And above these, there's a skinny but long tank. Since individual throttle bodies are used, the 6 vacuums must be linked to have a smooth injection reference. Its compression ratio is somewhat low for today,